Good evening and welcome to the regular planning board meeting for Monday, July 24, 2023. Before we begin our meeting, there will be one general period of public comment tonight during oral communications. Persons speaking during this general public comment period may provide the planning board oral communication on any matter concerning city business. Members of the public may comment in person, by telephone, or by e-comment. If you would like to participate in the public comment period by making an in-person comment, please present the completed speaker card to the planning staff. If you would like to participate in the public comment period by telephone, call 818-238-3335. We will announce when the phone lines are open. Will everyone please stand for our invocation and flag salute.
Once upon a time, there was a town that had a dangerous curve. And cars used to fly off the curve into the valley. And the townspeople got together and said, we should do something about this. And one half of the town said, let's put up a guardrail. The other half of the town said, no, let's put an ambulance down in the valley. That way we'll be able to get to those poor people that fly off the cliff. One of the things that has impressed me about this commission is that we know the difference between being proactive and reactive. And I believe that we're going to continue that as we go through deliberations in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you please join me in saluting our flag? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can we have the roll call, please?
Chair Rosati,
Here.
Vice Chair Atikanian, Commissioner Monaco,
Here.
Commissioner Elric,
Present.
and Commissioner Wick.
Present.
Do we have any announcements from city staff?
No, we do not.
There is one hearing on the agenda tonight. Now is the time and place for the first public hearing item on project number 2200074445, a conditional use permit to allow limited assembly use at the existing media service facility located at 3401 West Empire Avenue. Before we begin, do any planning board members have any legal, financial, or other conflict of interest relating to this hearing?
No.
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 Have any planning board members have any communications, including written, oral, with the person or any person about this project?
No.
No.
My neighbor randomly told me he supported the project.
Okay. Mr. Ramirez, have the notices as required by law been given?
Yes, they have.
And are there any written communications on this matter?
Do not believe we received any written communications.
Great. Will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter for us?
Good evening. Chair Rosati, members of the Commission. My name is Greg Mirzavakian. I'm an associate planner and the project planner. The project before you is a request for a conditional use permit to add a limited assembly use at an existing 28,664 square foot media services facility at 3401 Empire Avenue and the M2 General Industrial Zone. May I please have the presentation? The applicant proposes to replace an existing 384 square foot temporary seating riser with 20 seats currently used by staff with a 1,384 square foot temporary seating riser with 200 seats for use by test audiences. Per the CUP request, there will be a maximum of 24 events a year with a maximum of 2 events per month. The additional 76 parking spaces required on assembly event days will be provided at an off-site location. Next slide, please. One slide back. Thank you. The existing media studios facility operated by Madison Square Garden, aka MSG, was previously approved in June of 2021 and has been operating since construction was completed in early 2022. The previous CUP was approved to allow the construction of a structure with a height over 35 feet. Pursuant to Burbank Municipal Code Section 10-1-502, the proposed media service use consisting of editing of film and sound with no seating area and sound mixing with no seating is a by right use permitted in the M2 zone. However, pursuant to footnotes 8 and 10 of the same code section, said use is required a CUP if used as a place of assembly. Therefore, a CUP is required to allow audiences within the media studios facility for assembly. Next slide, please. The project is in the M2 General Industrial Zone. The M2 zone allows for a variety of media services, including editing and sound mixing with no seating area. There are no residentially zoned properties within the 1,000-foot radius from the project site, and the site is mostly surrounded by commercial, industrial, and planned development zone parcels. According to Burbank 2035 General Plan, the project site is designated regional commercial. This land use designation provides for regional employment, and shopping destinations that play an important role in the city's economy by serving both Burbank residents and residents of surrounding cities. These regional centers provide a variety of employment opportunities and services that address regional needs for retail, service, dining, entertainment, and conventions. The proposed project and the employment center that it is in play a collective role in supporting the media industry and other sectors of the local economy. The project will provide limited assembly use within the media studios facility, further supporting the media industry consistent with the intent of Burbank 2035 regional commercial land use designation. Next slide, please. The project site is 1.91 acres and is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Empire Avenue and North Hollywood Way. North Avon Street, borders the site to the north and the east. The project is surrounded by a mix of commercial, industrial, and service commercial and hospitality uses, including Media Studios North Campus to the east, the Los Angeles Marriott Burbank Airport Hotel and Convention Center to the north, a railroad right-of-way and the Aero Crossings project to the south, and the Hollywood Burbank Airport and Regional Intermodal Transportation Center to the west. Next slide, please. The audiences for the proposed use will consist of invited guests and members of the public that are invited, with invitations being given to specific people. Because there is not sufficient on-site parking to accommodate the anticipated number of audience members, the off-site parking will be provided at an off-site location no further than 300 feet from the project site, as required by code. At this time, the applicant has a lease with the Media Studios campus to the east of the project site to serve as the off-site parking location. The event attendees will be instructed to park at the off-site parking location and will be directed by event staff and directional signage to the shortest pedestrian path to the event location. The distance of the pedestrian path between the parking structure and the entrance to the Sphere Studios structure is 226 feet. Guests with limited mobility will be directed to park at one of the ADA accessible parking spaces at the project site itself. Event staff may also park at the on-site parking stalls. The hours of operation are projected to occur between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday only, although the conditions of approval will allow for more flexible hours. Special events affiliated with the Media Studios facility will not exceed 2 events per calendar year and may be approved by the Community Development Director. To evaluate the potential traffic and parking impacts of the proposed use, the city engaged Fair & Peers, an experienced transportation consultant. Fair & Peers determined that the use would require 76 additional parking stalls to fulfill the parking need on event days. The project site has 54 parking stalls, which is not sufficient for the proposed assembly use. However, the municipal code allows for off-site parking agreements between two property owners to provide either exclusive or shared parking arrangements. Staff recommends a condition of approval as part of the CUP to require the applicant to enter into such an agreement if the project is approved. Next slide, please. The floor plan for the Media Studios facility before you shows the location of the assembly use in the center of the structure. Once inside the facility, the attendees would be directed to the soundstage area with a 200-seat, 1,384 square foot seating riser that will be installed if the project is approved. The existing seating will be removed. The remaining portions of the studios have been constructed and are functioning, and there are no major changes proposed. Next slide, please. Staff recommends several conditions of approval to ensure that public convenience, safety, and welfare are addressed, and that the impacts of the proposed use are addressed. In addition to the standard conditions of approval, staff proposes conditions that limit the number of audience members to 200, limit the number of events to 24 per year and 2 per month, limit the hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., prohibit outside events unrelated to the operations of the Media Studios facility, require off-site parking agreement, off-site parking agreement to be in place to ensure adequate parking, require event personnel and directional signage to direct attendees to the event, and require that any drop-off or pickup occurs on-site only. Next slide, please. Staff has analyzed the CUP request and has determined that with the inclusion of the recommended conditions of approval, the proposed use would be consistent with the required CUP findings. These include the findings that a CUP is authorized for the proposed use by the zoning code. As stated previously, the addition of an assembly use requires a CUP for the otherwise by right Media Studios use. The next finding is that the project is not detrimental to existing uses. Because the assembly use is proposed to occur only on weekends, the hours of operation will not conflict with the office, industrial, and hotel uses that surround the project site. The assembly use at this site is compatible with the existing use of the Media Studios facility, as the testing of the media content created at the studios facility with live audiences is incidental in nature of media production. The next finding is that the project is compatible with surrounding land uses. The proposed use is consistent in intensity, traffic, and parking generation with the other surrounding M2 zoned properties, such as hotels, office, and parking facilities that exist in the immediate vicinity of the project site. Then the next finding is that the site is adequate to accommodate the proposed use and complies with applicable city development standards. Except for interior tenant improvements to install new seating risers, the proposed project does not include any physical changes to the facility. Although the additional parking stalls that are required to accommodate the attendees during the weekend events are not located on site, they are located at an off-site parking facility within the required distance at 3355 Empire Avenue. And that is in condition of approval number 11. The next finding is that the surrounding streets can handle the traffic for the proposed use. The proposed use would generate a similar amount of traffic as otherwise allowable uses permitted in the M2 General Industrial Zone and can be easily accommodated by adjacent streets. The recommended conditions are intended to ensure public convenience, safety, and welfare. The proposed conditions of approval include compliance with the Burbank Municipal Code and other building code and health and safety standards that will ensure ongoing compliance with established limitations for the number of events per year and per month, as well as business hours and requirements for off-site parking arrangements to compensate for the lack of on-site parking on event days. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission find that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act in accordance with CEQA Guidelines Section 15301, Part E, related to minor alteration of existing structures, and 15303, Part C, related to new construction or conversion of small structures, and the conversion of existing small structures from one use to another. As the action involves the replacement of an existing small structure, i.e. the seating area, with a replacement structure under 2,500 square feet in floor area within the existing media studios facility, and there are no unusual circumstances that would preclude the use of this exemption. Staff's environmental determination was attached to the staff report as Exhibit F for your reference. Next slide, please. Therefore, staff recommends that the planning board adopt a resolution of the planning commission, adopt a resolution of the planning commission of the city of Burbank to approve project number 22-00074445, a conditional use permit to allow limited assembly use at an existing media services facility based on the findings of fact and subject to the conditions of approval. This concludes my presentation, and staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. I now invite the applicant or the representative to address the planning commission. You will have a maximum time of 15 minutes to make your presentation.
Thank you. My name is Tom Levin. I'm an attorney at Glazer Weil and represent MSG. I'm here with Tracy Eggers, who can answer any parking issues that you might bring up. Our presentation is very short. It's in a couple of parts. The first is, and I have some context to make this, as I've been practicing land use law for over 30 years, was on the Beverly Hills City Council for 13 years, so have dealt with various cities throughout that period of time. And I wanted to tell you that your city departments are outstanding. And what I mean by outstanding is that they're can-do people. And for someone like me who works with various cities, what that means is a planner might say, you can't do this, but why don't you consider this? And that ends up being a much better project. So the first part of our presentation is a thank you, and you can see all the people that we worked with, and we wanted to thank them for these past couple of years. So we worked with Justin Hess, Denise and Sandy in the city manager's office, Constantine Anthony, the mayor, the members of the city council, the former mayor, Jess Talamontes, Patrick Prescott, who's your director of community development, Fred Ramirez, who sits to my right, Mario Osuna, who's your building official, David Kriske, who's the assistant community development director of transportation, Mark Hatch, battalion chief at the fire department, David Conrad, real estate manager, Edward Yu, managing traffic engineer, and Greg Mirza-Avakian, who's the planner who really put this all together, and we especially thank him for the hard work. The second part of the presentation, and you might ask, well, how did this come about? It came about because in November 2021, you may remember that there were high winds that destroyed the membrane of the Big Dome. And the Big Dome is part of a project which is even a bigger dome, which is called the Sphere in Las Vegas. And the Sphere is an 18,000 seat capacity theater in the round. It's going to open in September. You may have seen it on television. It's going to open with U2. And as part of what the Sphere is going to do is have immersive content. Well, someplace has to build that content. And MSG had the opportunity to look at other cities to build that content, and it decided that Burbank would be the best place. So that's what's going on in the Big Dome. And after the wind destroyed the membrane, the AV team from the Sphere in Las Vegas said, you know, we think we need more seats, because what happens when they bring people in on the weekends is they move them around. They said, well, what do you think it looks like from this location and this location and that location? And that's why we're here, because we're requesting this assembly use of a little more seats than we had in the beginning. So that ends our presentation. We're here for any questions or comments you might have for us.
Thank you. We will now open the meeting up to hear from any persons who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the planning board for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to comment in person, please present a completed speaker card to the planning division staff. If you wish to speak for members of the public who wish to speak by telephone, please call 818-238-3335 to address the planning board. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. The phone lines are now open. Please bear with us as it may take a few minutes to get the first few callers through. Please remember to lower your volume on your television or computer and remove yourself off a speaker when delivering your comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers tonight or callers on the phone?
No callers.
Okay, and we have one speaker card, Mr. Donahue.
Thank you, Chair Rosati and fellow commissioners. This is just general public comment, not regarding the particular item. So is this an appropriate time? Or will there be another public comment?
There is a public comment period.
Okay. May I wait till then? Or would you like me to speak now?
You probably want to get out of here, so go ahead and speak now. Well, you're up here, so go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair and Commissioners, for your time and staff. I appreciate it. My comments are about SB 35. I know this is going to be the only chance this week to be able to get to the podium in the chambers when there's not going to be probably 50 or 70 people, because tomorrow is going to be an interesting event, and I'm going to try to be here. I am not an advocate of SB 35 developments, so I want to speak against them. I think that there needs to be a pushback from the city, from the commission. I've seen pushback from several commissioners, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. These issues are not going to go away, and I think they're going to be front and center in the public much more than they have. I made a comment on a social media post that I think that the Mariposa Circle K is somewhat of a benign SB 35 project. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and it's not good. It's 30 apartments. It is not the hundreds and hundreds of apartments that are going to go into Burbank and Empire. That is a monster. So my comments, my hope, my plea is as we go through these moments of SB 35 development in the city of Burbank, that we keep in mind that what it's going to do to our community. And I know that those of you that sit at the dais do that, and I appreciate and thank you for your effort and your time and your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I do declare the public comment period closed. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
No, Chair, I do not.
Okay, that's a no. And does the applicant or the representative wish to make any further comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. And do we have any questions for staff?
The only question I had was, you mentioned flex hours, but I saw the hours from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Are those the flex hours you were talking about?
Correct. So the requested hours of operation, the projected hours of operation, are from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. However, this conditional use permit lives with the it runs with the land, and it will, as long as the site is there, it's going to be enforced. So in order to provide flexibility for potential future changes in the hours of operation, we felt that allowing slightly more time on both sides in the morning and in the evening should be sufficient.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Wick?
Have there been any noise complaints associated with this project or the property?
To our knowledge, there have not been any complaints of any kind,
Okay.
including noise complaints.
Thank you.
A couple questions myself. Well, when I first saw this, my antenna kind of went up because I remember, I think I'm the only one here that was on this board when we approved this, and it was a 28,000 square foot facility with very little parking, but it was explained to us that there was only going to be 3 to 10 employees on site at any one time. So obviously, the change is kind of a little, it just, again, it raised my concern. Do we have enough bathrooms to support this amount of people, considering it was only built for 3 to 10 employees?
I will attempt to answer, and anyone else who wants to weigh in. But I believe that with the tenant improvement that is proposed, if there are requirements for additional bathrooms or accessibility, those would be triggered and caught at the plan check stage, and those would be requested of the developer at that time.
So to answer more directly, if the new occupancy requires additional restroom facilities, those can be added to the interior space. There's a lot of volume in there, so it's easily accessible. And the square footage is still much less than would be allowed. Yeah.
And is this it, or do we think there's going to be another ask to have weekdays?
This is it, unless they come back and amend the conditional use permit. So
Yeah,
that's the thing that locks it in. In light of the ramp up for the larger dome
yeah.
in Vegas, it makes sense that they've now reassessed the need for it, and that's why they're before you. We didn't take the request lightly. We understood well
Yeah.
that was an issue of concern for the commission at the time, and that's why the developer agreed to do the traffic study with Fair and Peers, who's doing a larger analysis for the specific plan in that area. And the conclusions that they came to were the same, and that is there is more than enough parking across the street. They can control ingress and egress, and because it's being done on off hours of the offices primarily, we agree with them that that's not going to create an impact to the neighborhood.
And then just the applicant, if you will, you made a comment, I'm just a little fuzzy on the comment. You said that the dome was destroyed by the wind, and because of that, you needed more seating. I didn't understand the correlation.
Oh, it just gave the people in Las Vegas an opportunity because the dome was already built.
Right.
So now the membrane was destroyed, and that caused people to say, if you're going to make improvements by getting a stronger membrane, which is what they did, we would like a larger assembly, and here's why. That's how that came about.
Yeah. So, if you will, it's kind of a test audience.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's the way I read it.
And the audience moves around because it's in the round, so
Yeah.
they'll be here and here and here and
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
One question.
Uh,
I have one question for you, sir.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about Las Vegas and everything, but forgive my ignorance, but what exactly are you guys testing?
Oh, so if you would go on the internet and you put the Sphere, S-P-H-E-R-E, and this is now called, they changed the name from the Big Dome to the MSG Sphere Studios. So you'll see this really large 18,000 seat capacity dome that changes colors on the outside. And inside there's a certain type of art that is in a circle. Well, someone has to build that art so it can be shipped to Las Vegas. When it's shipped to Las Vegas, it has to be in a condition so they immediately use it. So this is the test facility for it.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant? Seeing, go ahead.
One quick question.
Sure.
This is for a test audience. This isn't going to be gala affairs or anything else like that?
No,
this is- no.
only a test audience.
Okay.
And we thank your neighbor.
I now declare the public comment period closed. Oh, sorry, the public hearing closed. The planning board will now deliberate. What is the planning board's pleasure? Mr. Elrick, go ahead and lead off.
I just want to go for a motion if everybody agrees.
Any discussion? Move into a motion, Ms. Wick?
I'm fine with moving into a motion. We're the media capital of the world. Let's have some media here.
No,
Okay.
now you're making sense. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. So I motion that a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Burbank to approve project number 22-00074445, a conditional use permit to allow limited assembly use at an existing media services facility. based on the findings of fact and subject to conditions of approval.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any more deliberation? Seeing none, will you please poll us?
Chair Rosati,
Yes.
Vice Chair Atakanian, Commissioner Monaco,
Yes.
Commissioner Elric,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wick.
Yes.
Great. Motion passes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Reports. There are no reports on tonight's agenda. If we can get a motion to approve the minutes. If you had a chance to read that.
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Motion second. Any deliberation, discussion? Seeing none, go ahead.
Chair Rosati,
Yes.
Vice Chair Atakanian, Commissioner Monaco,
Yes.
Commissioner Elric,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wick.
Yes.
Motion passes. Now is the time for introduction of additional agenda items. Planning board members may introduce new items for discussion, but no action may take place other than to put it on a future agenda item. Are there anything that you'd like to introduce?
No, but I just have a quick question. I'm not seeing a period of general public comment. Oh, never mind. I thought the other audience members were not with the Dome project, so never mind.
No, you're right. There's no general public comment.
Yeah.
We missed it last time too, so we should upgrade that.
We should probably just,
So I'm
Put it up.
gonna insert it right now. So no additional agenda items. Any public comment? Any public comment? Anybody would like to make a public comment? Phone lines are open.
No callers.
No callers.
Chair, if we may, I'll just read it real quick. So this is an opportunity for any members of the public, both present or on the phone, to provide general public comments. There's a member of the audience here, in case they want to take another crack at it. And if there's members that are listening via TV and wanting to call via phone, they can call 818-238-3335 to address the Planning Commission, and callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. We should probably, Diana, if we can give this a minute to see if
Yeah,
we
we'll
get
give
any
it a
comments.
minute.
Yeah.
And while we're doing that, do you have any city planner comments?
I'll wait. I wanted to say a little something for our commissioner who's not present.
Me too.
This is his last meeting, and I think it merits an acknowledgement, both from staff and if the chair has anything or the commission wants to say
Yeah.
anything as well.
No callers.
Okay, public comment period is closed. City planner comments.
Thank you, Chair. Just I wanted to take the moment to, thank co-chair or vice chair, Abraham Atukanian. I've had the pleasure of working with him for going on 6 years. And during that period, I want to say as much success as the Community Development Department's Planning Division has been able to help facilitate, none of it would have been possible without the hard work of the commission as a whole, but also Commissioner Atukanian's work, both his specialties, personal specialties as far as expertise. In reading his resume, didn't realize he both had engineering degree, contractor's license, and then he's an assistant attorney at the city of LA. But now it makes a lot of sense to me as to why not only was he always very thorough in his review, he was always providing very good feedback, made the projects always better. I had the benefit of working with you all and him and bringing a lot of development to the city in a very short window of time. But one thing that was not lost upon me is that he was always very respectful of different opinions. And he challenged everyone on the commission and on the staff to do as thorough a review as possible on a project. And I think that says a lot. It says that he really cared about his work. He cared about the community. And then just knowing him in the few times that we got to speak a little bit after, I know family is very important to him, and his larger family in the city of Burbank is important. So I just wanted to take the time to thank him. I will probably do so and get a chance to reach out to him, but I wanted to do it here publicly because it doesn't go without saying that he set a really high benchmark for the commissioners and those to come. And I think if we can all achieve a little bit of that level of professionalism, we're going to be in a much better place going forward. So I just wanted to thank him publicly and just look forward to him to continue to have feedback and dialogue and be active in the community. But thank him very much for all his hard work on the commission.
Yeah, I echo those same comments. I worked with Atagenian for 8 years. It's a big loss for this commission. He brought a lot of insight, knowledge, always thought about things that other people hadn't thought about or brought to the table. He worked hard and he focused on projects. He brought a lot of great projects and made them better, I think, with his dialogue and input. So I'm going to miss him a lot. He was like a brother to me. I can always count on him to challenge and push, and I like that. I like people that are willing to challenge and push because it makes all of us better. It makes our city better. And like I said, I'm really going to miss his input and his knowledge. Very bright guy. I loved his demeanor and the way he deliberated. So he's going to be missed. We will move to adjournment. Planning Commission meeting on Monday, August 14, 2023 at 6 p.m. The meeting will be held in person in the City Council chambers at 275 East Olive Avenue. The public is invited to attend the meeting in person or view the meeting online or on television. The public will be able to provide public comment in the following ways: in person at the appropriate time during the meeting, or by leaving an e-comment on the city webpage at burbankca.gov/e-comments. Thank you all, or by calling directly 818-238-3335. Thank you all for participating tonight. Have a good evening.